Scrip. Scrub the floors. Now. 5 words that shattered everything they knew about survival. 5 words that felt like death sentences delivered in broken Japanese. June 1945. Okinawa. A POW processing facility where wooden barracks smell like salt air and fear. 19 Japanese women stand in formation. Their uniforms are dirty from capture. Their faces are exhausted from weeks of running, hiding, surviving. The American MP, Corporal Davis, points at the floor, then at them. Then makes a gesture they understand universally: remove clothing. Adaka. Miname D. Kor wa shiori mo waru, naked, in front of everyone. This is worse than death. Only 847 Japanese women were captured as POWs in the entire Pacific War. 19 in this facility represent 2.2% of all female Japanese prisoners. Each one was taught that public nudity equals ultimate shame. Worse than torture. Worse than death. Worse than anything enemies could do with weapons. In Japanese culture, public nakedness isn't just embarrassing, it's identity annihilation. It's social death. It's the destruction of everything that makes you human in your community's eyes. The MP's boots echo on the wooden floor. The women's gasps create a sound like wind through broken buildings. Humid Okinawan air sticks to skin, thick with terror and disbelief. Davis holds scrub brushes. Buckets of soapy water sit ready. The floor does need cleaning, covered in mud from processing hundreds of prisoners. But the order? Strip first, then scrub. Quick question. Comment below, what city are you watching from right now? I want to see how far this moment travels. Kiko stares at the floor. She's 26. She knows what this means. Public nudity. In front of men. In front of other women who will remember. Who will tell families after the war? Who will carry this knowledge forever? Some women begin to cry silently. Some stand frozen. Some look at each other with expressions that say, should we refuse? Should we die instead? Is death preferable to this? The cultural calculation is instant and brutal: obi, and lose all honor forever. Refuse and likely die. Either way, you cease to exist as the person you were. The MP holds out the scrub brushes. But what he does next makes absolutely no sense. Makes absolutely no sense, because he doesn't hand them the brushes. He sets them down on the floor and leaves the room. The women blink. Confused. Terrified. The scrub brushes sit there. The buckets wait. The order was given. But the man who gave it just walked away. Why give an order and leave? Why not enforce it? Why not stand there and make sure they obey? Yuki's mind races back to what nakedness means in her culture. She's 28, married before the war. She knows the rules that govern women's bodies in Japanese society. Traditional Japanese bathing, even in women, only public baths. You cover yourself with a small towel. Always. You don't expose your full body even to other women. Privacy isn't about being alone. It's about maintaining dignity through symbolic covering. Watashitachi no bunka de wa. Hadeka ni narokodo wa sanzai shinaikodo to anajida. In our culture, being naked is the same as ceasing to exist. Public nudity was a criminal offense in 1940s Japan, not just frowned upon, illegal. The shame-based culture meant exposure equals permanent dishonor. Not temporary embarrassment. Permanent marking as someone without honor. Women's hands clutch their clothing. Instinctive. Protective. Their breath comes shallow and fast. The scrub brushes sit abandoned on the floor like weapons nobody wants to touch. Machiko whispers to Kiko, "What do we do?" He left. Do we still have to obey? Nobody has an answer. Because the order was clear. Strip and scrub. The fact that the man who gave it walked away doesn't change what he said. Some women start to reach for their buttons. Slowly. Reluctantly. Preparing to obey because disobeying a direct order from captors means punishment, maybe death. But others stand frozen, unable to move, unable to process the choice between physical survival and cultural death. The room is silent except for breathing. 19 women facing the same impossible calculation. The same cultural programming that says, better to die with honor than live in shame. The wooden floor creaks. The buckets of water sit still. The humid air feels suffocating. 3 women, Kiko, Yuki, Michiko, begin unbuttoning their uniforms. Slowly, eyes closed, preparing to sacrifice everything they are to stay alive. Then the door opens. A woman enters American uniform, but female Japanese face. Then the female interpreter arrives, and what she explains will rewrite everything they heard. Everything they heard. Because strip and scrub wasn't the order at all. Sergeant Tanaka enters, Japanese American, Nizi, female. Her face shows horror when she sees 3 women partially undressed, others preparing to follow. Stop, she shouts in Japanese. Perfect Japanese. Native fluency. Stop right now. The women freeze. Keiko's uniform is half unbuttoned. Yuki's hands are on her belt. Michiko has tears streaming down her face. Gokai? Tada no gokai. Watashitachi wa jiba no karasu to shida no ni. Misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding. We were about to kill ourselves over this. Tanaka's voice is urgent, professional, but shaking with anger, not at the women, at the situation. The order was not to strip. The order was to hanji into morke shas and scrub floors. Corporal Davis knows maybe 30 Japanese words. He said kageru, change clothes. You heard hadaka ni naru, strip naked. The difference between those phrases in Japanese is massive. Kigaru means change from one set of clothes to another. Hadaka ni naru means become naked. They don't even sound similar. But Davis's pronunciation was so bad, his vocabulary so limited, that he said something completely different from what he meant. Work clothes, in Japanese, is seiji-ji. Davis never said that word, never even attempted it. He pointed at the floor, made a gesture, said what he thought meant, change clothes, and left to get the interpreter, because he realized mid-order that his Japanese was insufficient. The women's collective exhale sounds like wind through a tunnel. Relief, rage, confusion, all mixing together. Corporal Davis appears behind Tanaka. His face is red, embarrassed, horrified at what almost happened. He speaks through the interpreter now. I am so sorry. I was supposed to wait for Sergeant Tanaka before giving any orders. I thought I could manage simple instructions. I was wrong. I am deeply sorry. But the damage is already done. 3 women have already begun removing their clothing. 3 women who obeyed what they thought was a direct order. 3 women who now stand partially undressed in front of their peers. And in Japanese culture, that changes everything. But the damage is already done. 3 women have already begun removing their clothing before the interpreter arrived. Before the interpreter arrived, and what that obedience cost them will haunt the others forever. Kiko, Yuki, Michiko. 3 names. 3 women. 3 who acted first. 3 who will carry this moment for the rest of their lives. They're redressing now. Hands shaking. Fingers fumbling with buttons. Eyes averted from everyone else. The shame isn't from nudity itself. It's from the choice they made. Watashitachi wa jibun de arabanakata. Shikashi, mina wa watashitachi ga jibun de aranda to omoderu. We didn't choose this. But everyone will think we chose it ourselves. In Japanese honor culture, there's a hierarchy of shame. Forced nudity, when someone physically strips you against your will, is dishonor, but it's forgivable. You were overpowered. You had no choice. The shame belongs to the perpetrator, not the victim. But voluntary nudity, even under misunderstood orders, that's different. That's personal failure. That's you choosing to remove your own dignity, even if you were tricked, even if you thought you had to. The fact that your own hands did it makes it yours to carry. The 3 women now carry double burden. The exposure itself, and the knowledge that they began undressing before being forced, before verification, before confirmation. Fabric rustles as they re-dress. The other 16 women avert their eyes, not from cruelty, from cultural understanding, from knowing that looking at someone in this state of shame makes the shame deeper. Witnesses make shame permanent. The silence is heavier than words. Kiko buttons her uniform with trembling fingers. She can feel the other women not looking at her. Can feel the space they're creating around the three of them. Physical space. Social space. The kind of space you give people who are contaminated. Sergeant Tanaka tries to help. It was a mistake, a mistranslation. You're not at fault. You were following what you thought was a direct order from a captor. Anyone would have done the same. But her words don't land. Because in Japanese culture, intention doesn't erase action. Results matter more than reasons. You undressed in front of others. That's the fact. Why you did it is secondary. The three women sit together now, separate from the other 16. Not by force. By mutual understanding. They're different now, marked, changed. The interpreter tries to explain it was a mistake. But the three women refuse to accept comfort for something they can never undo. They can never undo. Because in their culture, intention doesn't erase action. They undressed. That's all that matters. 3 days pass. The division becomes clearer. Not intentional, not cruel, just inevitable. Kiko and Michiko sit together at meals. The other 16 women sit at a different table. Not because anyone said to separate. Because that's how shame works in Japanese culture. The shamed separate themselves. The group allows it. Everyone understands. Where wa hageisha du anaku baka manoda. Sorga minaga kongaru kododa. We are not victims. We are fools. That's what everyone thinks. Japanese honor culture operates on a brutal principle: outcome matters more than intention. I was tricked. Isn't a valid excuse. I didn't know doesn't restore dignity. The fact remains you removed your own clothing in front of others. You did it. Your hands, your choice. Even if that choice was based on false information. The three women now occupy the lowest status in the POW hierarchy. Not because the other 16 are cruel. Because that's how the system works. Public knowledge of exposure equals permanent social marking. Kiko's rice bowl sits untouched at meals. She can hear the others whispering. Not malicious whispers, just acknowledgement, recognition of what happened, discussion of what it means. They obeyed too quickly. They didn't verify. They should have waited. The judgments aren't loud, they're quiet. Factual. The way you'd discuss weather or work assignments. Just observations about who did what and what that means for their social position. Yuki tries to eat but can't. The food tastes like ash. Everything tastes like ash now, because shame has a taste metallic, bitter, constant. Michiko stops speaking entirely. 3 days of silence. What's the point of words when your actions already said everything? The three women sitting apart. Rice bowls untouched. Others whispers like knives that don't draw blood, but cut deeper than steel. Sergeant Tanaka tries again to help. Brings the camp commander. Explains the mistranslation. Emphasizes it wasn't their fault. But fault doesn't matter in honor culture. Only action matters. Only results matter. Only what everyone saw matters. The three women need something the Americans can't give. They need restoration from their own people. By their own cultural rules. Through their own processes. Then Sergeant Tanaka does something unprecedented. She requests permission to hold a formal apology ceremony with American command present. With American command present. An apology ceremony where the Americans apologize to the prisoners. Unheard of. Unprecedented. Impossible. But it happens. Major Harrison, camp commander, agrees immediately when Tanaka explains the cultural necessity. If we cause this through our mistake, we fix it through their cultural process. Whatever they need. Teki ga ayamat iru. Watashitachi ni. Kori wa rikai dekanai. The enemy is apologizing. To us, this is incomprehensible. The ceremony is held 3 days after the incident. All 19 women present. 12 American officers. Sergeant Tanaka as interpreter. The room is arranged formally. Americans on one side. Women on the other, space between them. Major Harrison speaks first. Through Tanaka, but he learned the key phrases phonetically. His pronunciation is terrible, but his effort is genuine. We failed you. Our soldier gave an order in Japanese he didn't understand. He created a situation that violated your dignity and your culture. This is our responsibility, our failure, our shame. The first recorded instance of American military formally apologizing to enemy POWs during WWII. The ceremony lasts 45 minutes. Each officer who was present that day speaks. Each one acknowledges the mistake. Each one takes responsibility. Corporal Davis speaks last. His voice shakes. His Japanese is phonetic, learned in 3 days of intense study with Tanaka. I am sorry. I thought I knew enough Japanese. I was wrong. I hurt you through my ignorance. I carry this shame. I will learn your language properly. I will never make this mistake again. Ceremony candles flicker in the humid air. The women sit in formal seiza position. Kneeling, back straight, hands on thighs. Traditional posture for receiving formal apology. Major Harrison's halting Japanese continues. Women's stunned silence fills the gaps between his words. This shouldn't exist. Enemies don't apologize to prisoners. Victors don't bow to the defeated. But Harrison bows. Deep bow. 90 degrees. The formal bow that acknowledges serious wrongdoing. All 12 officers bow with him. The women don't know how to respond. This ceremony is unprecedented. The apology is genuine. The effort is real. But something is wrong. The 3 women, Yuki, Michiko, sit stone-faced. Not moved, not comforted, not restored. Because honor in Japanese culture can't be given by outsiders. Only by one's own people. But the ceremony doesn't restore honor. Because honor in Japanese culture can't be given by outsiders. Only by one's own people. Only by one's own people. So the other 16 women must decide the fate of the 3. The Americans leave. The ceremony is over. But the real process is just beginning. The 16 women gather. The 3 who undressed sit separately, waiting. This is traditional Japanese group decision-making, consensus process, no voting. Discussion until unity is achieved. Jisei shika, sekonin shika. Sorera wa anaji kodo dua nai, victim or responsible party. Those are not the same thing. The deliberation lasts 8 hours. Low voices in the barracks. Night insects chirping outside. The 3 women wait in a separate room. Unable to hear. Unable to participate. Their fate being decided by their peers. Japanese consensus requires 100% agreement. Not majority vote. Not compromise. Complete unity. Everyone must agree on the judgment before it becomes valid. The questions being debated. Were the 3 victims of mistranslation? Yes, obviously. But did they verify before obeying? No, they didn't. Should they have waited for confirmation? Maybe, but fear of punishment is real. Would the other 16 have done the same? Unknown. They didn't act first. Does acting first make them different? Or just faster to respond? Is speed of obedience a virtue or a flaw in this context? The debate circles, approaches from different angles, examines every aspect. This isn't about punishment. It's about understanding, about defining what happened in terms their culture can process. One woman argues, they obeyed an order from an enemy captor. That's survival, not shame. Another counters, but they began undressing before verification. That's choice, not force. A third adds, we all heard the same order. They just responded first. Are we judging speed or action? The night deepens. The deliberation continues. The 3 women in the other room hear nothing. Just silence and waiting and the weight of judgment being formed. Finally, near dawn, the 16 women reach consensus. Complete agreement. Unity achieved. They call the 3 women back into the room. All 19 together now. The Americans are summoned. Major Harrison, Sergeant Tanaka. The officers who participated in the ceremony. The spokesman for the 16 women stands. Her voice is steady, clear, final. The 16 women reach consensus, and their decision will shock the American command, who thought the apology solved everything. Who thought the apology solved everything? Because the 16 women declare all 19 equally shamed, including themselves. The spokesman's voice is steady. Tanaka translates for the Americans. We have reached consensus. Our judgment is this: all 19 of us carry equal shame, not just the 3 who began undressing. All of us. Haji wa wakurenai. Watashitachi wa hatatsu da. Shame cannot be divided. We are one. Major Harrison's face shows confusion. He thought the ceremony fixed it. Thought the apology restored the 3 women. Thought separating the guilty from innocent was the solution. But the 16 women's reasoning destroys that framework entirely. We all heard the same order. We all believed it was to strip naked and scrub floors. We all stood there processing the same impossible choice: obey and lose honor, or refuse and possibly die. 3 of us acted first. They began undressing. But the rest of us, we were seconds behind. We were calculating, preparing, building courage to do the same thing. They are not more shamed than us. They are just faster. And in our culture, we don't punish people for being first to do what we all would have done. The collective responsibility principle in Japanese culture. Group shame supersedes individual shame. When everyone faces the same situation, everyone carries the same burden, regardless of who acted first. We are all equally shamed, not because we all undressed, but because we were all in a position where such an order could be given, where we all believed it, where we all prepared to obey it. The shame isn't in the 3 women's actions. The shame is in all of us being captive, in all of us being vulnerable, in all of us being subject to orders we don't understand in a language we barely speak. American officers' confused expressions show they don't grasp this. They tried to fix an individual problem. They created a group crisis instead. The spokesman continues, "Your apology was kind, but it cannot restore us. Only we can restore ourselves, and we restore ourselves by acknowledging we are one group, one shame, one burden, shared equally, unity in suffering, collective responsibility. Group identity stronger than individual action. All 19 women now carry equal burden. The 3 are no longer separate, no longer marked, no longer lowest status. Because everyone chose to carry the same weight." Major Harrison realizes he's facing something beyond military protocol. A cultural wound that American solutions can't heal. That American solutions can't heal. So Harrison does something military manuals never taught him. He asks the women a question no commander is supposed to ask prisoners. What do you need from us? Not, what can we do for you? Not, here's what we'll provide. Not, we've decided to fix this by, what do you need? Kare wa kenryoku o watashitachi ni watashita. Teki ga koro suru no ka. It gave power to us. Enemies do this. The question hangs in the humid air. Unprecedented, dangerous. Harrison risks court-martial for excessive fraternization with enemy personnel, for giving prisoners agency, for treating them as humans with valid cultural needs, rather than defeated enemies to be managed. The 19 women confer quietly. Consensus process again. This time faster, 20 minutes instead of 8 hours. They know what they need. The spokesman stands. Lists their requests through Tanaka. First, work clothes provided. Real work clothes. So we never face confusion about changing versus stripping again. Harrison's pen scratches as he writes. Approved. Second, private changing area. Separate from main barracks, with door that locks from inside, so we control when and where we change clothing. More pen scratching. Approved. Third, female-only work details. No male soldiers present during any task that requires changing clothes or any state of partial undress. Harrison nods. Approved. Fourth, Corporal Davis removed from our facility. We cannot trust him. His presence reminds us of shame every day. Harrison pauses. Looks at Davis. Davis's face shows resignation. He nods. Accepts the consequence. But then the women add something unexpected. Wait. We are not finished. The room goes silent. What else could they want? What other demand? The spokesman's voice is quiet now. Careful. Choosing words precisely. Actually, we request Corporal Davis be allowed to stay. Harrison's pen stops mid-stroke. Tanaka blinks. Davis's head snaps up in shock, but he must learn proper Japanese, real fluency, not 30 words. And he must never give orders in Japanese again until he achieves fluency. Sergeant Tanaka must verify all his communications. The women's agency restored, their power recognized, their needs met, but also their mercy shown. All requests approved within 24 hours, but the women do something unexpected with their new agency. With their new agency, the women do the unexpected. They request the MP be allowed to stay. The reasoning becomes clear as the spokesman explains. Corporal Davis made a mistake, a serious mistake, but he apologized. He showed genuine remorse. He participated in the ceremony. He took responsibility. Yurushi wa fukush yori motsuyoi, kor ga watashitachi no erabu chikarada. Forgiveness is stronger than revenge. This is the power we choose. Removing him punishes him, but it doesn't restore us. It doesn't prevent future mistakes. It doesn't build understanding. If he stays and learns our language properly, he becomes the guard who understands us, who can communicate accurately, who will never make this mistake again, and who can prevent other guards from making it. The logic is flawless. The mercy is profound. The strategy is brilliant. Davis stays, and he learns. 6 months of intensive Japanese study. 4 hours daily with Sergeant Tanaka. 2 hours daily conversing with the women. Supervised, appropriate, focused on language learning. He achieves conversational fluency, not perfect, but competent. Real competence. The women correct his pronunciation, patiently. Sometimes laughing at his mistakes. Gentle laughter, not mocking. Teaching laughter. The kind you give someone you want to succeed. No, Davis-san. Kageru has the accent on the first syllable. Kageru. Not Kageru, the difference matters. He practices, gets it wrong. Tries again. Gets it right. The women clap, small applause, encouragement. Corporal Davis learning Japanese phrases. Women correcting his pronunciation with patient voices. Laughter replacing shame. The sound of healing happening through language. He becomes their most respectful guard. Not because he's afraid of making mistakes. Because he understands what mistakes cost. Because he carries the memory of what almost happened. Because he learned that language isn't just words. It's dignity, identity, survival. When the war ends and repatriation begins, 18 of 19 women write letters. Letters testifying to Davis's character. Letters explaining what happened. Letters describing his genuine remorse and his genuine effort to make amends. Those letters follow him through his post-war career, help him get into college, help him become a teacher, help him spend 40 years teaching Japanese language and culture to American students. One letter is missing. One woman doesn't write. Kiko. One of the 3 who undressed. 40 years later, one of the 19 women returns to Okinawa with a letter that will complete the story. That will complete the story. Because shame remembered becomes wisdom shared. 1985. 40 years after the war. Kiko is 66 now, gray hair. Grandmother to 5. Living in Osaka, she returns to Okinawa. First time since 1945, brings a letter. Addressed to the Peace Memorial Museum. Addressed to her granddaughter. Addressed to history. Haji wa watashi o kawashita to Amada. Shikashi. Sor wa watashi ni ningen si o ashida. I thought shame destroyed me, but it taught me humanity. The letter is preserved now. Display case. Museum lighting. Part of the POW Humanity exhibit. Visitors read it and understand something about war that weapons can't teach. Kiko writes, I was one of 3 women who began undressing that day. I carried shame for 40 years. I never wrote a letter for Corporal Davis like the others did. I couldn't. Because I blamed him. I blamed myself. I blamed everyone. But 40 years gave me time to understand. The shame I carried wasn't from undressing. It was from believing I had no choice. From believing my dignity was something others could take. From believing shame was permanent. Corporal Davis made a mistake, but he spent 6 months fixing it. He learned our language. He respected our culture. He became the guard who understood us best. I didn't write him a letter then. So I'm writing this letter now. For my granddaughter. For anyone who carries shame from choices made under impossible circumstances. Museum display lighting illuminates aged paper. Keiko's weathered hands tremble slightly as she places the letter in the curator's hands. Her granddaughter stands beside her, tears streaming down young cheeks. Shame is real. But it's not permanent. It's not who you are. It's something that happened. And you can choose, 40 years later if necessary, to transform it into wisdom. 18 of 19 women survived to old age. Most never spoke of the incident until the 1980s. Most carried it silently. Most transformed shame into strength privately. But Keiko spoke, because silence protects shame. Speaking transforms it. Strip. Scrub the floors. Now, 5 words that nearly destroyed 19 women. 5 words that became a lesson in how shame can be transformed, not by erasing it, but by choosing how to carry it. By choosing, eventually, to share it. By choosing to let it teach rather than destroy. When you're shamed by a misunderstanding, can shame ever be fully erased, or only transformed? Comment below.